What's up, everybody? Today we are going to make venison birria tacos. These are actually being made for a big turkey camp that we've got coming up this weekend. And so if you haven't already, go follow Roost Show on YouTube and you will see the end product of these being made in camp. But today I'm going to make up a giant batch of them. This is way more meat than you should typically use for a single batch. But that being said, they do freeze down really well. You can save them in batches, and I love this meal. So it's not all wild game, so it is venison roast, but then you also use beef short ribs to add some of that fat content in there and just give a lot of that flavor. So what you're gonna need is if you're just doing a single recipe, 4 pounds of venison roast, a couple pounds of beef short ribs with the bone in preferably, and then you need 3 tablespoons of chicken bouillon, 3 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 to 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 to 2 teaspoons of oregano, 5 bay leaves, and I'm doubling all this because it's a giant batch, 1 big white onion, and you cut that in quarters, 1 big carrot. I cut them wrong, cut these the lengthwise, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. A bulb of garlic, and you just cut that off. You'll throw this whole thing in there, and then later you will squeeze all of those out and blend them up. And then usually you would use a different type of chili, but these are just whole chilies. These are dried out. I cracked the tops off and got rid of most of the seeds. That'll tame it down a little bit. A lot of Midwest palates around here, so not a lot of spice, but it's really good flavor. So first step is you just get all of the meat in the pot. You're also going to add the onion, the carrot, and the garlic. And the whole chilies. And then I'm going to bring this over to the sink and I am going to fill it with hot water. So you want to cover everything that's in the pot with water. This is by far the biggest batch of this I've ever made, so pretty fired up about that.
How much total meat is this?
That's a good question. I'm kind of just winging it here. So it's got to be, it's probably 12 to 15 pounds of meat total. All right. Okay, so then the next step, bring it back over the stove. Bring this to a boil. You're gonna boil it for 30 minutes. I'm also gonna add all of the seasonings right now, and then I'll stir that around a little bit, and then that'll boil and keep mixing it. So I'll pour all those in. You'll wait to add the chili powder until after you blend the veggies and pour those back in, because you'll kind of add it into the desired color and flavor you want your broth to be. All right, we have let this boil for about 30 minutes. So I'm going to scoop all of the veggies, so the peppers, the onion, I'm gonna squeeze the garlic into the blender. I'll probably snag a little bit of broth in there just to blend it all up. But yeah, I'm gonna blend all the veggies and then I will pour that back into the broth. The hardest part is getting all the peppers. And those 2 huge onions, so yeah. Now that we've got all the veggies in there, I'm just going to blend that up into a nice paste. After you've got that blended up, I'm just going to pour that into your broth. And then you're going to add in your chili powder. And then give all of that a good stir. And then you'll bring it back to a simmer put the lid on, let it simmer for at least 3 hours, and then, or until the meat is basically ready to shred. Okay, so this pot of meat has been simmering for about 3.5 hours now. I double checked it. It is fork tender. I'm really gonna check the venison roast because you just want that to fall apart. So I'm gonna do a couple things. One, I'm gonna pull all the meat out and put it on this cookie sheet so I can shred that. Two, I set the pot on top of this cutting board to let it cool just enough so the grease from the cook rises to the top. And then what I will do is I will use a big spoon and pull all that grease off and put it into a container, because what you're going to do is you're going to dip that tortilla in that grease before you throw it on the fry pan and make those tacos. So I will get all this meat pulled out of here and get that ready to shred. Next, now that I've got all the meat out, you'll skim this grease off the top, and you just use a big spoon like this and put your bowl a little closer than I have, but you'll basically just want to save as much of that as you can for both the first night you eat them and then saving them. All right, it's finally time to actually make the tacos. So I've shredded some of the meat. I have diced up onion, cilantro. I have the grease ready to fry the tacos in. So what I'll do is I will take a corn tortilla, dip it in that, throw it on there, throw in some meat, some cilantro, some onion, and some cheese. And then I'm gonna fold the other side of the tortilla over itself. The griddle needs to heat up a little bit more than this, but it's getting there. Now I'm gonna let that cook. Flip it over, and while that's doing that, I'll keep adding tacos. All right, so when all these are done, I usually just move them all to one plate, and then people can grab as they go. And then I'll start the next batch. And then the final step is to just take a little bit of the broth that you simmered all day, put that in a little dipping dish, add some cilantro and onion, and dunk your tacos in the broth as you eat them. But that is just birria tacos in a nutshell. They are delicious. They're not that hard to make, a little time intensive, but overall well worth just simmering meat for a whole day. So go make yourself some venison birria tacos and wow the in-laws.